So hi, everybody. Steve Cady here at Bowling Green State University with our open house for the Doctorate in Organization Development and Change program. And what I want to say about the doctoral program is it's a pride and joy of mine. It's something that I am so honored to be a part of. We have a wonderful group of faculty, staff, friends, partners that have all been really collectively committed to coming together to create a great experience for the students in our program. And it's premised on one really important concept that differentiates a doctorate from a master's degree. Hi, Jillian. Welcome. So would you say to me as I'm doing this that I should keep calm and carry on?
Yes, always. Or another one on my wall is you're gonna cry about it or boss up. Boss up, pro tip, do both.
Well, welcome. I was just doing a little bit of an introduction. And what I was talking about, Jillian, is the notion of what makes a doctorate different than a master's degree. And the way I think of it is that an undergraduate degree prepares people for a job, entry level usually, but some type of entry level. A master's prepares people to be a subject matter expert in an area. And as they begin to add on experience and practice the subject matter expertise, they learn a lot. They have new insights. And a lot of times, and those of you that are here probably identify with this, there's things you've been learning that you want to share with others. And you have certain things that you want to help influence the world with in terms of what you know, which begins moving into the third level, which is thought leadership, which is what a doctorate's about. A doctorate is focused on helping people build and create knowledge that can be disseminated to others and be of service to others. I like to call it passive difference making, which is essentially like passive income, which is making money while you sleep. Passive difference making is making a difference while you sleep. And so the power of the written word as a core to thought leadership is key, because written text-based knowledge supported by mixed media, all types of different kinds of media surrounding that, when shared with the world, someone's going to read it and say, thank you. And you might be sleeping while they're reading it. You might be having dinner or doing something else. And then they share it with somebody else, and the ripple effect takes on. And when it's rooted in your passion, the thing that you care about, when what you write about and what you advance and what you do your research around and bring evidence to, when it's connected to your passion, it's a lot easier to do it than if it's not. And that's the key to grit. That's the key to a concept called self-efficacy. It's a key to just really, I think, finding joy in our lives. And what happens is, in the process of putting your knowledge out there in written and mixed media forms, in the process of putting it out in the world, you begin to make a name for yourself. And like actors get typecast, you begin getting typecast around your passion and the thing that you want to do. And I often say this: if you had a pickup truck, what happens? What happens to you when your friends know you have a pickup truck? They call you up and ask you to move their stuff. If you have a sports car, they're not going to call you unless they need to get somewhere fast. Okay? So similarly, when you start writing and putting your knowledge out there and it's connected to your passion, what it does is it begins causing people to call you to help them with the thing you're writing about, which, if connected to your passion, is going to bring a lot more joy to your life than if you didn't do that. And in addition to that, thought leadership, which I can talk about these in more detail a little bit later, I'm just giving you a high level concept. But in addition to that, when you write about what you know, taking a doctoral degree training behind it, you're bringing evidence-based knowledge to what you're writing about. And you're also exploring new things, maybe doing program evaluations or gathering additional evidence, and you're bringing it into what you create and share so that it has more credibility. And in turn, it gives you more credibility. And I do believe that it's writing is a easy to describe process, a hard to do experience. Okay. It's a habit. It's just like I know I shouldn't eat that bag of chips across the room. I know it. And I know but sometimes I just have to work on my healthy eating habits, and changing to those habits is similar to changing to the habits, a lifestyle set of habits for thought leadership, writing and creating and sharing your knowledge. The doctoral program at BGSU is focused on that. It's focused on helping you build your thought leadership competencies grounded in what you are passionate about in service of transforming organizations, revitalizing communities, and developing human potential in some fashion, regardless of the industry, regardless of the location. It's for all industries, all locations. It's applicable everywhere. Central to it is organization development and change principles, concepts, and the science of the social and behavioral sciences. So you learn that in service of your passion as you build your thought leadership, working towards building a dissertation that is intended to be not just sitting on a shelf after you're done, but to be a core catalyst or a seed for taking your knowledge out into the world, translated into articles and books and other kinds of things. And when you do that, it gives you more and more opportunities to do the things you love. And you pause and you'll say it sometimes, wow, I am doing what I love. I'm working on the kinds of projects that I want to work on. I'm working with people that I love working with, and I'm actually making a living doing what I love. And that's really good. And particularly in a helping industry like we are in, or helping profession, people in this profession can tend to give it away a bit much. And because they care so much about making a difference, this helps you to take better care of yourself as well. So that's my sort of a Empire State elevator pitch. Empire State Building elevator pitch. Took a little while to get up to 110 stories. But that's the premise. And that's my passion behind this program, because I feel like I can make a difference if I can help you connect with your passion and you make a difference. I feel like I am doing exactly what I'm called to do by being in service of you and helping you get to do what you are called to do in the world. So it's an honor, that it truly is an honor to be in this position that I'm in. And I feel grateful every single day for it. So with that, I'd love for you all, and what we're going to do, Jillian, is we're going to have one of you start, then pick one of the other people that are guests here. There's 4 guests. There's 4 prospective students, and then there's 2 guests and 1 current student here. And so one of you can go and then pick one of the other prospective students. Tina, Nick, Wasim, and Jillian, you all are interested in the program. And then we'll learn about our guests here who will reflect on your questions. So what I'd like you to do is, what'd you hear from me? Maybe, what brought you here today? Why now? Why this now? And what questions do you have that would help you as you are thinking about this next step in your journey? And so who would like to go first amongst our guest here?
I can go first.
Thanks, Nick.
Just make sure that's so in what has brought me here, I first of all, I am from Toledo, Ohio. I work in the field of education. So all of my experiences were through classroom teaching, building administrator, and now I am a regional consultant for my section of Northwest Ohio with literacy consulting. And as a teacher, as an administrator, I worked in community schools. So the processes are able to move a lot quicker because we don't have a central office. And, I was the building principal and the superintendent. So I enjoyed a degree of intellectual freedom to paint a picture for both myself and my team as to where we want to go. And and using those social sciences and the research from Bandura and, you know, some things from, you know, some other collaborative research. You know, I was really able to use my title, my job, and the team that I worked with as action research projects, basically. And so, you know, that brought me from, you know, the classroom where I excelled as a teacher because that was my disposition as a classroom teacher. How can we make things better than to an administrator? And now, you know, I serve a region in our state. And for the very first time, so why now? For the first time, I have what feels like, or what seems like, a thought pattern above me in the hierarchy of my position that is challenging my thinking. That it's making me think about all of the things that I leveraged through, you know, my classroom and my team and the schools I support. It's forcing me to think about things in a different way. Um, how can we build a space where people feel safe and smart and, you know, willing to be the best version of themselves? So, you know, so it feels natural at this point in time to explore more, to explore deeper, and to do it with a group of like-minded individuals that I can share this experience with, you know, through the cohort model that this program provides. And I have a 1 and a 2-year-old at home, and I want to, you know, I made the decision years ago that I wanted to take part in a terminal degree program, but I also don't want to miss out on my kids when they're 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. So, you know, my goal is to start this and to hopefully finish within a few years is the plan. Information, and I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded, information that I would like to know right now, because there's a lot I don't know. But in terms of an onboarding process, or, you know, how might the university or this program specifically be intentional about onboarding new cohorts? How, you know, how does the team or the family mentality among everyone in cohort, I think it's 6 now, how is that delicately formed? And are there any connections with former cohorts so that we're not only collaborating obviously with our own cohort, but to create a multi-level space of collaboration, so to speak. So
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Tina, you have to leave, so I know in a little early. So why don't you check in with us?
Thanks, Steve, and apologies. I've got to jump to a meeting that was not planned until an hour ago. So great to meet everybody. And I feel like I'm relatively familiar with the program. I've had a couple of really good conversations with, you know, some of the people involved, including a current student who's in, I guess it's cohort 5. So feeling like I have a pretty good understanding of what it's all about. I am coming from the world of sport, from small town Canada, hockey in my blood. I've worked in college, pro, international sport, a lot of basketball and hockey, and have finally stepped away from the team environment where you're on a treadmill going 100 miles an hour, and have a chance to think about how I can now, you know, sort of invest back in myself to reposition for sort of the next chapter. Super excited about this program. Was not aware of it at all until one of my former athletes actually told me about it, and it really resonated with me. I, you know, certainly have a lot of interest in helping organizations in elite sport modernize, because many of them are still living in the 1980s. So a lot of interest in trying to be a bit of a thought leader in that space. So thank you, and excited to continue to learn over the next, you know, few weeks.
Great, Tina. Do you have any questions right now that you need addressed?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Tina, I've been reading the Frederick Bachman books called Beartown 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
about hockey. And now I'm looking at you with very fresh eyes and great respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francis and Dave, you want to give any thoughts to Tina before she heads out? Anything for her to think about?
Well, I like the fact that you have information already and just the spirit that you're entering with. So if I understand you, this is a time you want to, rather than being so fully involved in the sport or teaching the sport or whatever, a time sort of look at the next step for yourself. And I just think this is the place to do it. I would say that the concept of thought leadership is so much bigger than we can even describe it, because not only are you going to be learning something, we're going to learn a lot of lessons that you learned from that sports about leadership, about following your intuition, new ideas, etc. So I look forward to having you in the program.
Thank you.
I tell people, don't forget to value what you're bringing, because that's what makes this program so rich. It's what everyone brings.
Great. Thanks.
I think of this of two words: anywhere, everywhere. And by that I mean when you are deeply curious and committed to a life of pursuing the nature of organization, behavior, change, you'll never, ever run out of subject matter. Organizations are pandemic, they're everywhere in the good sense of pandemic. And secondly, I've been around, well, into my 80s now and studying organizations since I was a kid. And I still haven't figured out enough to satisfy me. So that's a future that all four of you have. Because you can plunk yourself back into any sector you want to specialize in going forward, but you're going to have the framework and the perspective. And as Steve said, you can draw from the work you're doing lessons that you can now share in a much more egalitarian way than a lot of other very tight disciplines. And I think of Doug, who's now every Friday writes a story in LinkedIn based on his farmyard observations. He's a farmer and a former, and one of the earlier cohorts. Fascinating. And so he can draw attention from all kinds of people. He does a lot more than farm, but you're free to travel in this degree, I think, in ways that I certainly, and I think Francis is the same way. We don't want to ever miss a chance to come up with a new insight and share it. And this is the field to do it in.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Tina. So before you head out, who would you like to hear from, Wasim or Jillian? Next, and then
How about Wasim?
okay.
Oh, hello.
You're right in front of me here, so it's an easy one.
Okay. Happy International Women's Day. Wasim Subi. I am in Washington, D.C. You all did a really great job just answering my questions earlier, because I've been researching, in fact, enrolled in a program, a doctoral program out of California, say the name, but found that it was not a fit because it was an EDD program, and I came from a master's program that was in School of Education, and my background is in instructional systems design, so building training programs and learning and development programs for usually in the private, but then transition to public sector or government, both domestic in the U.S. as well as international. So we do a lot of international development, and it's chaotic because it's just the nature of the politics and the interests and the may sometimes conflicting or competing. But generally speaking, I was drawn to this program because I had the OD network back in the archives that I used to be part of and active, and then then that's where the connection came to this program. And then I was just like, well, why didn't I find out about this sooner? You know, the EDD was more of it kind of veered off into, you know, the K-12, and so this interested the scholar practitioner with the consultants. It was just a diverse and opening and welcoming, and like you said, Dave, just you could do I like that you could travel anywhere. So
Yeah.
and it's our field is dynamic, it's fluid, it's ever changing, and I'm looking for like-minded colleagues from different backgrounds and industries who can help me, and I hope I can help, maybe by way of a global perspective from some of the work I do. Um, but yeah, thank you for having me and giving me the space and time.
Yeah. Any question you have that you would like to bring into the conversation today? Any question or curiosity or need?
Yeah, the third year in the program, it looked interesting where you have the I would say it's a capstone, or you had because Tom, who I had a good conversation with Tom Daniels
Mhm.
about what some of the places you go and some things you do, some of the organizations you visit. I think it was the UN and some others. So I was interested in seeing how that will play out. My struggle personally has been sort of like, you know, you have a wide array of interests, but it's really about focusing it to kind of giving that purpose to making that difference for who has been one of my challenges. For who, right? Because that's kind of like, okay, yes, we have a lot of constituents, uh, and sometimes weighing who's your target benefactors, if you will, and then the work and the doctoral work, because it's an investment uh, in so many ways, and so you don't want to kind of give it to someone who or a target group that might already either is already in a good place or better place than others. So it's kind of like weighing the who really needs it. And yeah, that's been one of my struggles there. And what else? That's yeah. So I'm yeah, I'm just curious to learn more about the cohorts. Nick, you brought up Nicholas about the you know, who kind of came before us and how does that plug in?
Yeah.
Alumni, that might be interesting to see how you connect us to learn from each other, to support each other.
Right on. Thanks, Wasim. Yeah, and I'll touch on all of this, and as soon as we hear from Jillian, not Julian, Jillian. Hey, Jillian.
Hi, thanks for your patience while I joined a little bit late, had a meeting come up, but I wanted to join this session today because I've started my search, into programs. So I'm currently Senior Manager of Instructional Design, and so loved hearing Wasim say he is also an instructional designer. And so, why now? When I became a manager, I, started learning more about organization, management, leadership in general, became interested in organization development, talent development, which, lended nicely with my instructional design and higher education background, a little bit of K-12 background as well. But really looking at, learning and development from a broader perspective and the value it can bring to a business and showing the value to the business. So looking at, organizational development, knowledge management, just being a good leader. When I became a mom a few years before I became a manager, and I found that's really influenced my style, I think, a lot. I've grown as a lot of person through both of those experiences, becoming a mom and a manager. I was originally in a PhD program right after I graduated undergraduate. I thought I wanted to be a history professor. And so I was in a PhD program for history. But I, at that time, realized I was more interested in the teaching aspect and the instructional design and the technology component because I had helped faculty use technology for teaching and learning through distance learning at the time. And so I did leave that program and became an instructional designer. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 16 years, and then advanced up through the ranks at my current company to become manager. And so now it's sort of the time is right. A couple of different factors in my life have conspired to say, this is the time to go back to what has always been a personal goal of mine, to achieve a doctorate, and to follow this new path that I'm on. As I've grown, my professional interests have evolved, and now I want to learn more about organizational development and change. I want to be able to respond to some of the things I observe within my current environment that I would maybe like to do differently, or would like to know how to be a better leader on. And ultimately, always been a high achieving kind of student, wanting to, attain one of those director level, head level, C-suite type of positions. So when I came across this program, I really liked the focus on a very humanistic part of it. Looking at PhDs, EDDs as well, like Wasim mentioned, comparing the different curriculums. Just kind of liked what I saw with this one.
Very cool. Any question that you need that would help you? Like your big question? Do you have one?
The international experience was interesting to me, and I guess I might be interested in hearing more about that. That does seem to be a sort of distinguishing factor.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple things. I think I'll touch on all your questions, and then Francis and Dave, I'll ask you to chime in again, kind of a little bit more afterwards. But I want to kind of get the top of mind stuff off the shelf, so to speak, for them. So I love your questions, Nick. That's good. You all three are instructional designers, actually. And so you are coming at it from that lens. And I have a huge passion for that, instructional design, learning. That's one of my areas of research, is around learning and design. So a couple things we do. First, I'll start from right out of the gates. We are doing these open houses and helping students really connect right now, like you all are connecting, right? So you're getting a chance to talk to each other, bringing in partners and students to be in the conversation early on. So you're talking with them as you go. That's another piece that's early on. Once the application process is completed and you're accepted into the program, the next thing that happens is you get assigned a mentor from one of the cohorts. And the mentor will be there to talk with you at least 4 times between now and the time you go. They're committed to talking with, essentially committed to checking in with you every month before things happen. And it could be more than that, but just get a commitment to a monthly check-in and make sure they're there to answer questions and stuff like that. Second thing we do is we do welcome webinars, and they start in May. And they are the third week of every month. And I'm looking at the different potential times to do it. But essentially, there'll be that, and there'll be May, June, July, and August in which we will meet. And the goal is to help you, one, get all the administrative and all the other kinds of things addressed so that you don't have any angst around all that stuff, the processes and getting in and so forth. If you want to do electives, if you get accepted early enough, you can do electives this summer and begin immediately taking classes. And so there's 2 electives that are required for the program. Now, because some of you have already done other programs, but you may not be completing those programs or whatever, there's a possibility that some of those classes can count as electives. So, and so that it's a pretty, I won't say lenient, I would say, but pretty lenient, as long as it's 5,000 masters or above, those types, and it's from an accredited university, they can count. And so, but if you still need an elective, you can take them before the official start to the program. Then with the welcome webinars, we build camaraderie. We have breakout groups. We have you getting to know each other. We do some activities to get you talking to each other. And we bring faculty pop in and students pop in to share a little bit about who they are and how to make the most of, get ready, make the most of the summer, to get ready for the start of the fall and those kinds of things. So we're doing all of that over the summer. We also send you a couple books, a book on the field of ODNC and another book that is focused on, it's by Alan Alda. It said, if I understood you, why do I have this look on my face? He is founded as at Carnegie Mellon. I believe it's Carnegie Mellon or Cornell. It's one of those two, but it's a communications center, and it's all about helping people who have advanced knowledge or skill, like medical doctors or high level subject matter experts. How do they translate what they know and make it accessible to other people? And it's just a really good book on that. So we give you a couple books just to help you kind of think, what is the field about and what's a doctorate about and what are we trying to do in terms of making our knowledge that we build accessible. So as we go through the summer, you have that. I'll talk a little bit about things we're going to be doing in the program with the welcome webinars and so forth. And so that sort of brings you in gently. You get to see what the program's required, the services that we provide. We also provide, because it's an executive program, we provide what I call extra supports that are for working adults and professionals that a typical university doesn't necessarily always provide. Because a lot of the services are geared towards undergrads that are traditional and on campus. And so you need a little bit different support. So we make sure you know how to get the support you need and so forth. Then when we get into the program, we do Fridays on each residency, because there's one course at a time, 7 weeks, 7 weeks, 7 weeks, 7 weeks. Each course has a residency about 2 to 3 weeks, not 2 to 3, 3 weeks in of a 7 week, 3 to 4 weeks in on the 7 weeks. The residencies are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The first residency is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's an extra day for the first class. That serves as a bit of an in-person orientation and gives a little bit more time for you all to get to know each other. It gives a little bit more time for that. But the rest are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 5, 8 to 5, and 8 to 3, which enables people to get to the airport and get home, because Detroit is a very well-connected airport, so it can get you home pretty much, by that night. So we then have the classes, 7, 7, 7. So basically there's 6 residencies a year. And then in the third year, the dissertation year, there is 5 residencies, so to speak. 4 residencies on campus, and the 5th is the international trip. And what we do is we have created a structured residency-based experience for you to come in and get the support you need to work on your work on your dissertation. And we help lay out the process. We bring experts in that are on research and writing and other types of things. You meet with your chair, you present your ideas to the cohort. The cohort gets to present their ideas. You get into scholarly discussion, and you get to learn things about your idea, others' ideas. It really cross-pollinates ideas. It's really rich. On top of that, you're sharing ideas, like you're sharing your IRB, your institutional research board. Hey, this is what I did for my application for getting my human subjects approval. Here's my document. You can borrow this. Or here's how I transcribed my qualitative data. Or here's how I did my survey this way. Whatever you're doing your research on, you're helping and sharing and economizing. In addition, it's a lot of social support, a lot of public accountability and support with each other, because you all are cheering each other on and trying to make sure you finish on time. As a result, like our first cohort, 70% finished within 3 years and 92% finished within 4 years, less than 4 years. The national average is 6.7 years to finish and a 48% success rate on national average with this doctoral programs. So I believe that this model, the structured scaffolded, as you know, as instructional designer, scaffolding is really well suited for adult learners. And scaffolding the third year experience, you're not alone. Otherwise, you'd present a proposal, go away, do some research, present your dissertation, go away and live in a silo. But you're not living in a silo, you're in a community and you get the support you need. And it's not too much. The sweet spot is 5 or 6 residencies a year seems to be a really good sweet spot, with it being on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Everybody to a T says that can work really well for them within the context of their professional work and stuff like that. We have people flying in from Africa, Europe, Canada for class and it works. So it's quite interesting to see how people are finding that it works okay. And again, Detroit is 45 minutes down the road. It's a really, and the residencies are in a executive center, which has a hotel right next door to it and a whole shopping kind of movie center, coffee shops kind of area all surrounding it. So it's really a convenient place to go and park and walk in and stuff like that. Here's the cool thing. Most programs don't do this. We have the international trip, which is included in your tuition that you're paying so it goes towards this. We build it into our budget. We pull from all of that, and we have an international trip. Cost is it can cost, if you were to do something like this, it'd be $25,000 to do this type of an experience. And what we do is we take you in the at the very end of the program, the last 6 weeks of the third year summer, we take students on an international trip. It's called the International Symposia Experience. And currently we're going over to Amsterdam and London. We've gone to Paris 3. We're working with professionals that work on international relations, looking at everything from servant leadership to Fons Trompenaar's work on cross-cultural dilemma reconciliation, to Yesham Harris's peace negotiations and international peace work, to the Tavistock Institute's work around the social behavioral sciences, which they are one of the founding organizations in our field. And we go and learn from them and have talks with their elders. We go to the Wellcome Collection, which is a history museum that keeps a collection of all the social behavioral sciences from Tavistock. We go and actually pull out Trist's original work on social and technical systems and see his handwritten work he's doing, and where he was studying the coal miners to figure out socio-technical systems from the 1940s, to a whole bunch of other stuff, to working with Entelechy arts and how do you communicate and work with people with severe disabilities, and using the arts to help community connect with more able people in communities, to connect with less able people in communities, to connect them together in meaningful ways. And the list goes on. But the trip is rich, it's full, and the sites are wonderful. The experiences, we do fun things too. But you really get to look at the world through at this point, you're going on it with your dissertation in hand. You're either done or close to being done, and you're talking from that lens of knowledge and knowing, and you're connecting with other people that are equally as passionate students and doctoral students from over there and experts and stuff like that. So I'll stop there. Am I answering your questions? Yeah, Wasim, Nick, yeah. Julian?
Nick had asked about the connectivity between the different cohorts. As a cohort 5 member, so I entered the program in the 5th year of its existence. I have the benefit that I've been around the program pretty much since before its inception, really. During the COVID years, there's a cohort that calls themselves the COVID cohort, as you might imagine. I actually was able to be in a lot of sessions because I was helping with, the virtual environments that we were setting up to make that work. I can tell you that everybody prefers the in-person residencies, but obviously we had to make it work, so we did. My sense, so I grew up in a very big family. I have 30-some cousins, and to me, my cohort is my siblings, and the rest are my cousins. Is sort of how it feels. One of the coolest things has been when I came in last year, I went through a resource that we'll share with you in the welcome webinars, where you can basically look at a catalog of all previous cohorts and sort of, links to their LinkedIn, a brief bio, what was their research topic, what were they debating, what were they thinking about, and being able to have conversations with fellow students that are wrestling with adjacent subject matter or with connected subject matter, right? So my theme, my context is collaborative improvisation. I have talked to other people that are looking at the intersection of how does art maybe have a place and how we can leverage it in collaborative context, for example. So picking other people's brains and having that inform not just my, like, how was this class for you, but like, what are you focusing on in your research? Or, oh, Teo, I came across this article. Have you seen this article? And sometimes I said, yes, thank you. That's great that that resonates with you with what I'm working on, because I sure did find that article. Or I go, wow, no, this is amazing. I need to check this out. Sometimes that can get to be a rabbit hole. I feel like every time I read an article and I look at the reference section, oh, here's 7 more articles I should be reading. But so that connectivity and learning from people in other cohorts has been really, really important. In my own cohort, my experience has been that wrestling with folks from really diverse backgrounds and walks of lives and professional experiences has been incredibly valuable, because probably the average is twice a day during residencies and like twice a week during the in-between when we're not in residency. I have like moments where I never thought of it that way. And it gives me a new angle, a new perspective. And it might be somebody who's younger than me. It might be somebody who works in a completely different field, right? But so those impulses have been absolutely at the very top of the list for me in what has been impactful being in this program. So yes, the faculty is amazing. Yes, they are well-researched, well-studied, and are bringing stuff to the table that will sometimes kick your rear end just a little bit. But reflecting on those things with fellow students that have professional experience that they're connecting it to, and then reflecting that back to my experience has been absolutely monumental for why I'm in this program and continue to really feel inspired by it. I'll give you one more small nuance, that also the connectivity of the networks. The faculty have been super open and like, oh, well, I'm not maybe the foremost expert, but I know somebody that if either they are one of the foremost experts on this, or they know somebody that you could connect to. And so I have had chance, I don't know if any of you are aware of, I have his book here somewhere. One of sort of my heroes for the last decade is a gentleman named Frank Barrett. He's at Case Western, happens to be a jazz pianist who's played with some of the artists as a jazzer that I'm really into, but he's also a management professor and consultant. And to me, he was always somebody, well, maybe when I'm in my 60s and I've written 10 books, maybe he'll talk to me. But I proposed a symposium for the Academy of Management, and he said, yeah, I'd be interested to talk to you about maybe doing that. Not going to happen this year because I won't be in the country, but so potentially I get to talk as a first-year doctoral student to somebody who I thought was just beyond my reach. And folks generally have been really open and sharing, including the 2 folks on your screen here. Or the 3 folks on your screen, really, but Francis and Dave as 2 individuals that sort of represent for me that sharing that is part of this community.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you, Teo. Thanks. And I want to turn it back over to the 3 of you, and I want to give Dave and Francis a chance to respond. You've heard a lot. So what are you hearing, and what are you still curious about? And then Francis and Dave, if you could have some closing thoughts for them, because we're getting to the end. But so what are you 3 hearing? What are your reactions? What questions are coming up for you?
I think all of the responses and all of the sharing that I've heard thus far has confirmed a lot of the things that in terms of just the dynamic nature of collaborating within the program, just to build our own efficacy, and how we might carry our own identities into the spaces that we occupy. I don't know. It has confirmed a lot of the things that I assumed maybe and hoped for. But through this sharing in today's meeting, I feel really, really good about. So thank you for that.
Hey, you're welcome, Nick.
Agree. I appreciate the sense of building community. The thoughtful onboarding plan. Onboarding is one of my interests, especially in a remote environment, because I work remotely, as well as offboarding, which I don't know it gets as much play as onboarding, but both types there, and just building that community, being among scholars again. It's one of my favorite places to be. So exciting.
Let's see.
Thank you. Yeah, you had me at scaffolding. So I'm definitely excited about what I've heard so far. And also, one of the things that I've been reserved about was the dissertation, because a lot of programs really revolve around the dissertation. And it was almost like an obsession, like your whole academic career leads up to it and it goes off to die on a shelf somewhere. So I was always like not 100% motivated by that fact. So, and there were other programs that had portfolios, they had, I think it was NYU. So some of these programs that kind of like show that, it's not, it's more active, it's more something that you can use and reuse or apply in different contexts. So that's one thing that in the back of my mind was like, I just didn't, wasn't motivated for sort of that. I love the academia, the research, the challenge, and the writing, but it's almost like the output. What then? What then? And who would benefit, if anyone, from the research that you put in all this investment in? Is it something that you can, and then I like you also mentioned Steve, mixed media, and so that kind of came to mind. I was like, okay, yeah, it shouldn't have to just be this static document, but something that we can use in different formats if the program allows for that sort of openness or open to it.
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Wasim, which is perfect because I did want to comment on that as well. That is exciting to me because one of the areas of organizational change in academia as an organization, when I was in that PhD program in history, I wanted to do a hypertext simulation as my thesis, and I was able to do it because I had some forward-thinking faculty who were willing to work with me on it, and I was leaving the program just at the master's level. And so I did that. But it was very hard for the graduate school at that time to kind of wrap their head around it. And so I'm always curious. I've been following along, and new media has come a long way in history in terms of possibilities and respect it receives. So, excited to hear about that change. Still understanding you've got to, write a traditional narrative, perhaps, but good to know some
Right
change.
on. Yeah, well, one of the things, Jillian, is at the heart, and I'll turn it over to Brett's friend Dave. At the heart of OD is this notion of action research. And action research is a really interesting concept because it simply says that we do something with an intended impact to be helpful. And so whenever, and and you're embedded in the thing that you care about. So so your dissertation can be an action research project where you are examining the impact of something that you think will have an intervention, if you will, that will have an impact. And that's your hypothesis. We have hypothesis everywhere we go. I walk in to a room, I want to have an impact. There's a hypothesis. Do I have the intended impact? So there'll be more on that. So Francis and Dave, what are your thoughts as we wrap up?
Well, so I'll be very quick, Dave.
Take your time.
No, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I think what I bring to the program now, and I think about it, is a lot of on the ground corporate OD experience. I worked in large corporations for years around change, and I bring that experience. Also bring the experience of working internationally, where you have to deal with cultures at the same time around change, the way we define it in the American Business School. So I have a sense of that, which is helpful. I want to respond to a couple of things that you said of your questions, but the first thing I want to tell you is, if you think about a 3-year program, this is a concentrated effort. So we packed a lot of experience into 3 years, which puts a lot of burden on you. But the other thing I want to tell you is that we are
Teo's going.
yes, we are very intentional about the cohort concept. So the cohort concept is not just a framework here. We're very intentional about having that work for you, because this is a big part of what makes this program work. And the last thing I want to tell you is that the boundaries around this program are very open. So people want to do a creative dissertation, you're going to hear from a lot of different people. And for you in instructional design, I would tell you that design is so much a part of OD. You're designing settings, you're designing environments, you're designing interventions. So all of that's going to be very, very relevant. And the big thing I want you to know is a very dynamic program, very creative, and the boundaries are open. The only thing I would tell you is don't become overwhelmed. Whatever you do, don't become overwhelmed. You just have to focus.
Well, I had the pleasure of doing much of my PhD work back in the late 60s and early 70s with Peter B. Vail. And as Francis knows, who worked with Peter on NTL and some other affiliations, Peter was one of the earliest modern students of organization behavior and change, and helped a lot of people create organizations like the OD network, and he helped create the journals. And he went on to do an awful lot of very important things in his career as a management educator and leadership educator. And I collaborated with Peter right up to his death on his last book called On Practice as a Way of Being. I put in the chat the connection to the book and to what Peter and I created as well. When we found out that he was too ill to spend a lot of time writing, as we were revising, I said, look, why don't we create a podcast? And Peter, who was in his early 80s, said, a what? A podcast. I explained it to him. He said, let's do it. And that's the spirit that Francis would probably know, and Steve, who knew. That's the spirit of people in this field. Let's do it. Let's try it. Let's see if it'll work. So you'll hear 22 episodes of Peter and me having conversations around the outline of the book. And then I just took it on forward. He died in March 2020. And I just posted this week the 256th episode. And 200 or more of those people, including Francis and Steve and Theo, are practitioners. And my question in every case is, what do you love doing? And that starts the conversation. This week, I featured a writer and producer of the Peanuts movie, who collaborated with Charles Schulz's grandson to create the Peanuts movie, which was in the major theaters, and now you can find it on Apple, and he's doing more. What is there about a movie producer that has any interest to us in organization development? Everything. When he described how they laid out the storyboard for that movie, we do storyboarding, don't we, Steve? We've done storyboarding as a methodology. People write in the Collaborative Change Library about such methods, as Francis and I have, Carol Golick, others. So you guys are getting into a place where, as I said at the beginning, and I'll finish now, if you love to be bored, don't even come near this program. go to a traditional PhD program, not to put them down too much, but you're right. They'll just drive you toward the big dissertation, everything about the dissertation, and it'll take forever for you to get to it and forever for you to finish it. This way, you're back out in the field in 3 years with a doctorate, with a big, big smile on your face and an eye for what's gonna intrigue me next. And I promise you, the day after you get the hooding, like Doug, who graduated this year, a farmyard will start making all kinds of sense to you as a place to create another methodology for our field, which is storytelling. So I want to say right now, this gentleman, Steve Cady, he's a pioneer. He's an instructional leader and designer. And if you can affiliate with him, you want to know him for the rest of your career, just
Thanks,
like I
Dave.
knew Peter.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Well, I'm grateful and so glad that you all are here and interested in this program. And I hope things work out so that we're learning together in the coming months. Just let me know if you need anything. Nick, I'll be talking with you a little bit later today. I'm available. Wasim, to talk with you when you're ready. Just let me know. My email, I think I got it figured out. I don't have the web version, but I have the desktop working, so I'm good. Or Jillian, let me know if you want to chat. And we got a really great group of people coming in. So the goal is to have everybody in by May so that we're doing the onboarding and have a complete cohort by May is our goal.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks. Anything else before we say bye?
Until next time, thank you.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Wonderful.
Care.